wanted to give you an update on our direct seeded garden. This is one of the theme gardens we decided to create for 2003 here at our studio grounds. And all the plants that you see in this garden were not planted out of cell packs or pots or any other method. They were sown directly into the ground. So we picked lots of plants that would be easily grown in this way. Now the plant is really, or the garden is really starting to come together like we wanted it to. You can see a few bare areas back here, however, and things didn't work out exactly as we planned. We knew we'd have a little bit of a problem with some things, and these bare areas are the result of cutworms, and we also had some rabbits that would live under this large Chinese juniper here and come out at night and kind of nibble on the plants. So we've got a few bare areas. We can still sow some zinnias and a few other plants, so we may do that to try to fill in this area for the rest of the year. But a garden like this is a good way to save money. It would have cost a lot more if we would have bought these plants to plant in this garden. This is also a good idea for a children's garden. Some of these seeds that are very easy to grow and grow into very nice plants. But we've got quite a variety of plants in this garden. We sowed the marigold seed. This is a variety called Safari Primrose. It's very showy, bright yellow, and it's a very good size, very low plant. We're very pleased with that one. Right here we've got the Brazilian Verbena. This is actually a perennial plant, but it does reseed readily in the garden, so we thought we would include it, and the seed came up very easily, and it's growing into a nice plant. This is again that Verbena on the stick, like some people call it. A good plant for the garden. You can see right through it. Another marigold we've got right here is Safari Red, and doesn't really look red to any of us. It's more of a burnt orange, or maybe got some coppery type colors in the flowers, but again, very bright color, and again, a very tight, low growing plant. For a different texture, back here we've got Cosmos. These are easy to grow from sowing the seeds directly in the garden. Very bright colors atop tall plants, and the foliage again is very fine. We have several varieties of zinnias in this garden. Zinnias, of course, are from Mexico. They love hot weather, very easy from seed. We can sow them as late as July here in Oklahoma and have still a really nice crop. This particular zinnia is one called Sombrero. It's got a really neat two-tone effect there with the yellow and the reddish colors in the Sombrero zinnia. Right behind it, we've got a really beautiful zinnia. This one's called Purple Dahlia, and just a beautiful zinnia with very large heads of flowers. On the other side of the Purple Dahlia, we've got a very minute zinnia. This one's called Zinita, and you can see these are barely 6 to 8 inches tall with these variety of colors on these plants, little Zinita zinnias. And zinnias, marigolds, and cosmos are important to have in the garden because they're very good nectar plants. They will attract very beneficial insects like honeybees and other predaceous insects, and they also bring a lot of butterflies to the garden. So marigolds, cosmos, and zinnias, very rich in nectar to attract those insects to the garden. Well, right here in front of me, I've got a very neat annual plant. This is one of the California poppies. These can be a little bit challenging to grow, but they're doing quite well here. They like a very well-drained soil, so low spot will cause some problems growing the California poppies. We sow the seed of our California poppies very early in the year, late February to early March for these plants. And right here we've got another very low-growing flowering plant. This is the Texas Phlox, Phlox drummondii, native to the western parts of Texas, giving us some very bright red color. We've got a few other varieties of this phlox in our garden with some other colors as well. Another variety of zinnia that we have in this garden is a candy cane mix. All the plants were supposed to be red and white, sort of that candy cane bicolor, but we've got a little bit of a surprise. We've got a variety of colors, and we're happy with it. It doesn't really matter. We've got some sunflowers for height in the garden. We'll have a lot more blooms on those coming up pretty soon. We did have to stake those because of the wind that we get here in Stillwater. If you're interested in growing a garden like this from seed and you're wondering which plants we used in this garden, you can visit our website and check out our theme gardens, and we've got the seed list of the plants for our seeded garden posted. Here at our studio garden in years past, we've created some really colorful themed gardens. Well, this year we've decided to do something a little bit different and create a garden with plants that have green flowers. So this was a little bit of a challenge, finding enough plants that have green flowers or green seed heads or something like that. But it's not a very colorful garden, but it's very unique. There are lots of florists who love using green flowers in their arrangements for something a little bit different. You can see some of the plants that we've got here. We've got a tobacco. This is Nicotiana Langsdorffii. Pale green flowers, little tubular shaped plants. We also have a larger flowered green flowering tobacco. It's called lime green. It's really a neat plant. We've got it in an area where it gets morning sun and afternoon shade. But those tobaccos make a really wonderful green colored flower. We've got some green broccoli, but it hasn't really produced the heads yet, and this variety may not develop here in Oklahoma as well as we wanted it to. We've got patches of green gladiolus planted in here. Those will be coming on pretty soon. We'll have some green flowers from those. Right here is a very interesting plant, a plant that I like a lot. This is one of the millets. This variety is called Foxtail White Wonder, and it looks like a couple of large green fuzzy caterpillars here in the garden, but those work very well in arrangements. Very nice green color. Right here we've got a plant that we usually grow in our water garden. This is the Egyptian paper plant, and its flowering heads sort of have that green color to them. Well, here on the other side of our pathway we have a plant that a lot of people will consider a weed, and actually it is a weed in a lot of gardens, but this is a selection of goosegrass. And it looks pretty much like a typical goosegrass plant, except the seed heads are larger and they're sort of curling. This is called green cat goosegrass, and the seed heads sort of look like the fuzzy claws of a cat. But those will dry to sort of a tan color, or they can be used green in arrangements as well. Right behind the goosegrass we've got a plant that I'm really starting to like. This is something that's pretty new to the industry and not really that well known in the garden trade. This is Datisca cannabina, and it's got large compound leaves, and the flowers are sort of a greenish, little bit of a yellow to them. Very interesting plant. This, according to the literature, can get to be about 12 feet tall, so that will be an impressive plant if it attains that height. But I think it's a sort of unique plant. Well, the green garden is definitely a unique garden that you might want to check out if you come and visit our studio grounds. Our Oklahoma gardening volunteer group, the Ambassadors, came up with a really neat idea for a theme garden for this year. They wanted to have a theme garden of plants with people's names. So that's what we created in this spot. Now, we could have gone with plants that have cultivar names like David or Becky or something like that, but we thought that would be too easy. So what we did, we came up with plants that have common names that are people's names. So we've got plants like Black-Eyed Susan right back here, one of the Rudbeckias. We have a ginger in the background. In the very back we have Joe Pieweed. And then of course right here in front we've got this very contorted shrub. This is Harry Lauder's walking stick. This is one of those plants that the florists love, cutting those bare stems and using in arrangements. Very nice woody plant. We've got a holly in the background. We've also got rose. That particular white rose is one called French lace. Here in the front of it we've got Veronica, one of the speedwells. So this one is sunny border blue. This is a nice perennial. This is actually been one of the perennial plants of the year several years back. Right over here we've got a phlox, and another common name for this plant is bouncing Betty. So this particular phlox will come into bloom a little bit later, and we'll have those flowers that people refer to as bouncing betties. Right here we've got ruby grass, so ruby is represented. Moneywort also goes by the name of creeping Jenny. On the other side we've got creeping Charlie. This is the same plant we have planted on our dinosaur, the variegated ground ivy, but it also goes by that name of creeping Charlie. Rosemary is here in our garden. Right back here we've got jasmine, a winter jasmine represented. And we've got a lily, a daylily. We also have iris here in our garden of plants with people's names. But I think the star of the show right now is William, or Sweet William. This is Dianthus barbatus. And this particular cultivar is one called Amazon Neon. And this is a new release. It was available in Park's seed catalog, new for 2003. And they hail this plant as the largest flowering, or the largest cluster of flowers of the Dianthus barbatus, or the Sweet William. So we just love that intense color. We've got just a little bit of variation from plant to plant in the seedling population. These plants are very easy to grow from seed. They flower in about 3 months from a planting, and Laura did a really good job growing these this spring in the greenhouse. Now, Dianthus barbatus is typically a biennial plant that just grows about 2 seasons in the garden, but the Amazon Neon cultivar of this Dianthus barbatus is listed as a perennial, so it's got some hybridization in there, and we'll see how long it lasts in the garden. But we're just really crazy about this plant. I just love those really huge clusters of flowers on our Sweet William.